Hello, everyone joining us on the live stream. We will be starting in just a moment. Sorry, that was me looking at the camera. I'm also looking right into the projector. That's a real mistake. Foolish of me. I can't see anything now. That was really dumb. Alright, that's fine. That's okay.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming out on what may be one of our last nice evenings this year. I very much appreciate having you all here. I probably should have waited for the train to go by, but we'll make it work. I started now. It is always such an honor that you share your time with us. I really do profoundly appreciate it. My name is Dr. Ben Peterson. For the few of you who don't know me, I am the chair of the Board of Healthy Pine River, and I've been doing this for about a month, and it has simply been a profound honor to get to know all of you better, and particularly to see the enthusiasm that people have in this community for finding real solutions to the problems that we all know that the Pine River faces. Tonight, we have several things in store for you. The main event is, of course, going to be the results of the summer water test, where we are going to discuss the work done by our partners at the Great Lakes Watershed Institute at Alm College on getting a sense of where the water quality is now, getting a sense of what issues it has. I think we all saw, well, through the summer, there was more algae, there was more muck than probably ever seen before, certainly than I've ever seen before. And so they're going to talk about that and also talk about some new places where that research is expanding. But before we get to that, I have a couple of pieces of business that I want to do. The first one is just a profound thank you to Dave DeGraff, whose book, Pine River Wanderings, has been made to us, available for donation. It's a beautiful book of photos of the Pine River. It has raised a tremendous amount of money for us. If you would be interested in a beautiful commemorative book on the Pine River, let me see, where is Dave?
I'm Dave. She's got the books.
She's got the books. Brittany has the books. I wasn't sure which person did it to. There's 6 books left. They're gorgeous, and they're available to you for donation to Healthy Pine River. So I would highly recommend picking one up. Second thing is, as we're calling the meeting to order, I need a motion from the membership to approve the minutes from the September 11th meeting. Those minutes are on the back. Do I have such a motion? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Good enough. Cool. And the next thing I want to talk about really quickly is the financial report. Just very briefly, things are great. We had an amazingly successful run of fundraising. partially because of the book, partially because of our friends of the Pine River program. It has been really successful. And just as kind of a side, whenever we spend money, whenever expense comes through, the thing I always think to myself is that the membership gave this to us. And that's a really profound duty and honor. But if you look at the balance sheet down at the bottom here, you can see that we are doing quite well at this moment. Of course, we are going to have to keep fundraising to continue to do that. Because we are purely a member-supported organization. We really will continue to need that support because doing the work that the Pine River needs does cost money. Are there any other comments from Treasurer on financial report or anything else you want to add? Okay, cool, fantastic. All right, well, so just very quickly then, I have been undergoing a process with the board of thinking what our strategy is going into the future, how we are actually going to make meaningful change. And from that, we identified that there are really sort of four things that we want to be doing through 2025 and 2026. The first is building capacity. We already actually have a fantastically running nonprofit, but thinking about where we can develop things further, basically. Particularly thinking about that in terms of advocacy, and then also thinking about that in terms of our social media presence. I'm working with a very sharp student from Alma College named Dante, who is going to be heading up our social media development. I'm also working with several other students who are doing surveys to see what people think about Pine River and what can be done to get people there. We want to better develop those capacities. The second thing, we want to expand our coalition. We're really thinking a lot about how we can reach out to the rest of the watershed and find other people that are impacted by the crisis in the Pine River, and how we can all come together and make that meaningful. Third thing is what we've done for a very long time, but that's continuing to try to understand what's happening in the Pine River. We'll hear a little bit more about that in a second. And then the final thing is thinking about how this ultimately can put us into a place where we can make real changes. We already have some possibilities with that. We're right now in the process of the dam risk reduction study, which will hopefully result in a clear pathway forward for the economy. But we really want to develop our ability to ultimately be able to make sure that our voices are heard in any venues that involve the Pine River. And to that end, I have a little ask for you. So, we decided to form two committees. The first committee is what I'm calling the Advocacy Development Committee, which is a committee of members and members of the board who are going to work together to develop their skills in terms of political and local advocacy. So that's kind of my background. I was a lobbyist, taught quite a few political advocacy courses at Alma College. And I think that it's really valuable for us to develop in that way because it will make our voices much stronger and much more clearly heard. So if that's something that you would be interested in, I have a little sign-up sheet here. It's no commitment, but it's something I'd like to kind of talk with people about, and I think it could actually really develop some things with people. The other thing is, of course, the Farm Engagement Committee, which you've heard a bit about already in other meetings. But the idea here is that the agricultural community of Gratiot County needs to be at the table with us. Because of the sheer impact, the sheer size of the impact that they have on our economy, we need to all be talking together. And that's something that has been a challenge. It's too easy to view ourselves as at odds. Chuck has been working to develop all sorts of connections with people. If you are somebody who would be interested in helping to facilitate that, there's also a place for you somewhere. So I'm just going to hand this around, and I'm realizing I don't have a pen with it, so I'm going to steal one up here. And I'll actually start it in the back. There's one. And here's another. I'll put one out on the other side. If you'd be interested in that, I think it would be a really good thing to move us towards practical action. And with that, that actually is going to conclude most of what I had to say. I told you it wouldn't be too long. So, but does anyone have any questions about anything? Or should I hand it over to our guests who are going to talk about the summer water testing? Any questions? Yes. Yes.
What's the maintenance cost on that chemical site over there in St. Louis?
That's a good question. Where's Gary? Yes. You know, what is the maintenance cost on the St. Louis site?
What was the question again?
How much does it cost a year to maintain the site over there?
Oh, they don't have numbers. They don't have numbers like that. I seen a number once, man. It was like $1.4 million or something. That's a moving target.
Yeah.
It's but after the site's completed, what's the maintenance going to be? Oh, the O&M.
Oh, the
operation and maintenance.
Yeah.
Well, truly that has not been determined because they don't know what they want to have happen with the plant site. Okay. So that question's well in the air. Reuse is a hot topic right now, and it's all over the board from having a solar array out there to parks and recreation. So it's being debated as we speak.
Yes.
As a tie-in to that, the local health department just sent out a letter. It's a monthly one, and they're looking for people 18 to 34 years old whose parents grew up in Gratiot County. And they want to do some CBD testing.
Oh, that's
So
good.
look on the Gratiot County Health Department website.
Yeah.
If any of you want to know from that.
Yeah.
Long-term residents of the county.
Good. Yeah. This is important study. Yeah.
And that part is for Emory University, who is involved in doing research on that issue. And pending funding availability determines how far they can go and what they can do.
But collecting the information has always been the important piece, right? You know,
Why don't you sign up, go to the site, and get on the list?
Any other questions that anyone has? All right. Well, let's hand it over to our guests. So I am happy to recognize and welcome Hannah Abner, Issa Bryant, Colin Coffey, Brady Craik, and Emerson Gooden. If you all could come up here, let's give them a round of applause. These are all students who worked closely with Professor Borello on the summer water testing through the Great Lakes Watershed Institute. Of course, again, this would not be possible without the generosity and support that comes from all of you. The fact that we have actually had the money and resources to do this has meant that the Pine River is now one of the most exceptionally well-studied waterways in the country. And that is something that's a true asset to us. So thank you all for that, but I'm going to hand it over to them.
Yeah. My name is Colin Coffey. I'm a junior here at Alma. I'm an engineering student. I primarily worked on finding input into the Pine River for causing algae.
My name is Brady Craik, also a student at Alma College. As far as my major, I'm kind of torn between biology and environmental science, which made research with Dr. Borello this summer very beneficial to kind of see where I want to take my future career.
I'm Hannah Abner. I'm also a junior at Alma College. So we all kind of work together on collecting some more of this data and trying to find some input and some causation of the St. Louis algal bloom and things like that.
So what we did on our summer vacation. We continue to monitor the watershed, address possible point sources, St. Louis algal bloom, and try to find a clean sampling site in the watershed.
So as far as finding a clean site, what we're really looking for is an area that didn't seem to be impacted by any sort of agricultural runoff or pollution. It's hard it's hard to define what like a clean waterway is, right? When you don't really have anything to kind of compare it to. So we were looking for that clean site, and and see what parts of the watershed were impaired. And these sites came down to Wolf Creek, two intersections at Wolf Creek. It was at Edgar Road and Vickeryville Road, and then where the Pine River intersected at South Roland Road. So yeah, on the maps here, you have kind of my fat head's probably in the way. We got Wolf Creek around here in this circle, and then Edgar and Vickeryville Roads here and here, and then farther up is where the Pine River crosses South Roland Road.
So in terms of what we're finding at these sites, Pine River at South Roland Road initially looked very unimpacted. It looks very clean when you look at it. There's a lot of, like, a lack of surface algae going on. The water seems very clear and it's very swift moving, which usually means that it's pretty clean. We did find a sheen at one point, potentially coming from an input source, a pipe on the north side of the stream. So this is what that sheen looks like. So when you see a sheen like this, it's either going to be a bacterial sheen, which can be natural cause, or it's going to be a petroleum sheen. And it's pretty simple in terms of figuring out which one it is. If you throw like a rock or a stick or something at it, if it breaks apart, it kind of stays broken and fragmented, that means it's caused by bacteria. If it breaks apart and comes back together smoothly, it's petroleum. So this broke apart and it stayed broken apart. So that means it is bacterial, which it can be natural cause. This doesn't necessarily mean that there is waste input here. And then there's no other signs of petroleum or anything else, so we can kind of conclude that it is bacterial and not something to necessarily worry about.
So Wolf Creek at Edgar Road appeared less impacted compared to the downstream sites. Lack of surface algae, as we see right there, and swift current, the rocky bottom. And the area was very forested and isolated with farms nearby. There's few.
So the fun part, the data. So what we look for when testing for like the health of the stream, and one of the things we look at is the nutrient levels, specifically phosphorus, represented by SRP or soluble reactive phosphorus, and then nitrogen, or nitrogen ammonia is what we specifically looked at. And these are nutrients that plants just need to grow and survive. So if these nutrient levels are high, then you're going to see larger and more frequent algal blooms. And as you can see here, Pine River at South Roland, the red line, which is about 0.05 milligrams per liter, is healthy levels of a stream, or that's widely considered healthy. Pine Roland for phosphorus levels is maybe over 3 times that level, which is not great. And then Wolf Creek at Edgar is just riding that line, which isn't necessarily a terrible thing. We'd like to see it lower, but variation occurs in nature. And then Wolf Creek at Vickeryville is way higher on the nitrogen side and almost twice as high on the phosphorus side.
So what also is really indicative of like some kind of waste influence is E. coli levels. So you can see 300 CFUs where the red line is marked. That's what poses risk to human health. That's what typically like completely shuts down a beach or things like that where they say, hey, don't go near this water. So you can see that all 3 sites are well above what that level is.
So to conclude that, Pine River at South Roland doesn't appear to be a good candidate. It seems to be impacted, another impacted part of the watershed. And concentrations of E. coli are high. Wolf Creek sites, again, don't appear much better. Both have high E. coli. And so more work needs to be done to find a clean, unimpacted site of the watershed.
So while we didn't end up finding a clean site, Hannah and I were actually specifically working on this at the end of the summer to end you on some good news, we started to travel closer, kind of to the Chippewa watershed, and we did find this creek called Bush Creek, which we don't have enough data on it to conclusively say what is what, but things seemed to look better, the levels seemed to be lower, so perhaps in that area there would be some streams that are actually clean.
So in terms of our second goal here, what is causing the St. Louis algal bloom specifically? 2025 was the worst year as far as the extent and persistence of this algae bloom that we're seeing. It started all the way back at the fishing derby, which is relatively early to see such high levels of algae. So we're able to narrow down from here two potential inputs, but we need to do a little bit more research to really conclusively say yes or no as to what is causing this.
So yeah, a recap from this last year. There's 4 potential input sites that contribute to this algal bloom. We have the Alma Dam, Sugar Creek inputs, Horse Creek inputs, and the Alma wastewater treatment plant discharge. This is a map of it. We see here, this is Sugar Creek coming down this part. Here's Horse Creek coming right there. A wastewater treatment plant on the Alma Dam. And these are the only inputs that could be causing this algal bloom in that area. Here's a picture of it, how bad it was.
It's kind of across the whole width.
Yeah.
And so as far as the testing the data for these sites, at the dam, we find, so once again, there's that healthy level for a good stream. The dam was over that level, over 3 times for the phosphorus, 2 times for the nitrogen. Horse Creek, I'm going to skip over that real quick. Horse Creek, same kind of thing, 2 and 3 times as much. Not something we want to see ideally. What interested us was that Sugar Creek, although these are high, Sugar Creek is still way higher than both of these, both in the nitrogen and especially in the phosphorus.
So similar story here. This is all past data, by the way. This is 2019-2024. So we didn't collect this data. We're just looking at this to see where do we go from here, right? So Alma Dam, wastewater treatment plant, First Creek are still high, but not high as Sugar Creek. So that's kind of why we're focusing in this summer on Sugar Creek, because it just persistently is a lot higher. So we're thinking that has to be the main source of these nutrients in algae.
So yeah, from our findings of 2024, Sugar Creek seems to be the dominant source for the nutrients, and it's also the dominant source of E. coli, indicating that the input is most likely animal or waste from livestock and people. What about 2025?
So, as Hannah mentioned, because of the past data, that's why we really honed in on Sugar Creek this year. And the 3 sites we specifically looked at was where Sugar Creek crossed at Grafton Road, marked by the first star, and then the second star is at Jefferson Road, and the third star is at Madison Road. And then this graph shows the E. coli levels that this is phosphorus. This is phosphorus. So I like this graph because on this section, on this square, this block, you have the phosphorus levels of the boat launch, Horse Creek, and Sugar Creek from 2012 to 2018. So we're talking past that. It's in 2019 is about the time when that algal bloom started showing up, and as you can see, 2019 to 2023, the average for Sugar Creek way higher all of a sudden than the boat launch and for Horse Creek. Continuing in 2024, same trend, and then what we found this year in 2025, same trend. Sugar Creek spikes way past these once the algal bloom first comes to fruition.
So this is our data from this summer. All this is what we got this summer. You can see that there is just a kind of constant high. It never drops below what a healthy stream should be. And so we can see that there are some spikes. We see specifically after a rain event we have spikes, but all summer it's very high. Same thing here with E. coli, right? Just a constant high above that red line the entire summer. Specifically after rain events again, we have these huge spikes. And then next slide will kind of explain why that happens. So what's going on here is, I'm sure you guys are familiar, but the farmers use these underground drain tiles to make sure everything's draining excess off their field. However, things can get backed up in there. Manure, a lot gets kind of stuck in these pipes, especially if it's dry out, and then it just kind of sits there. So when we have these big rain events, all of that washes out right into these drains and tributaries. So that's why we're seeing all of that nutrients, all of that equalized spike right on this.
Include this. Sugar Creek shows high levels of nutrients in the E. coli. Even though there's no obvious source right at the headwaters, there must be some other source feeding into it at the start of the creek. So move on to this map here.
So you want to explain it?
Alright, so here's Sugar Creek right here, going down right here, and then down, it feeds right into the Pine River down here. These orange dotted lines that you can see, I think, are underground drains, and they are going to, over this side, they go up here to where a capo is located around here.
And then, oh, you go to the next slide. Okay. Good, yeah. So that was kind of the map view. So this is like a satellite image. I think it might be hard for you guys to see between being back there and on a projector, but if you can see, like up here, there's it's like this field's almost like darkish green, and then up here it's this light green line. You can kind of see a dark one here, kind of a light one coming up here, and what these are from the satellite view, the drainage like ditches, and or the underground pipes as kind of like the ground settles almost because there's something underneath it, and they all converge here, which was so I guess it would be something like a manhole cover or something in the field where water drains down.
They all connect to the very headwaters of Sugar Creek, though. That's what was the main part of this finding that we were really focusing on is, like, we're seeing this nutrients, we're wondering where it's coming from. We're looking at these drainage maps, and we can see underground pipes that are feeding directly into very headwaters of Sugar Creek, where it should be relatively clean. So we also had a meeting with the Gratiot County Drain Commissioner, and he agreed that these underground drains may be impacting Sugar Creek. He suggested that potentially they could be incidental CAFO runoff, or they could be from leaking septic systems up in the Forest Hill area. So moving forward, there needs to be some more research done and kind of investigated to see really where this is coming from, if this is the main source.
So yeah, here's a map sort of showing that there could possibly be a connection right here to this town, Forest Hill, and could be a connection. This is where the underground drain, this is where that orange was, that map
Yeah,
was.
so this would be like the beginning of Sugar Creek, the solid line, and then the drains branch off.
Yep, and it goes again right into the headwaters of Sugar Creek. So that could be a possibility.
So next steps that we need to do, which will be next summer, is first of all, we want to do more sampling on Bush Creek and in that area to see if we can find that clean site, so we can kind of once again say exactly like what should a healthy stream or river look like. We want to work with the drain commissioner and the proper authorities to find out where that pollution might be coming from and or what's going in that underground drain to see if that really is in fact the source leading into Sugar Creek. And then also work with the Michigan District Health Department on those septic systems in Forest Hill to see if it's, old septic systems are leaking or something.
Yeah, overall we just want to say thank you guys. A lot of this could not have been done without funding from the Healthy Pine River Group, so we owe a lot of that to you guys, and we just appreciate your support through all the years of research.
Questions. Let's see here.
So have you located where you're going to take the samples on the Bush Creek system?
That was more you guys.
Yeah, so we had some sites mapped out that we were sampling a couple times, but we only got like 2 or 3 rounds of sampling, which just isn't enough to conclude the research for sure. So we have those sites, and that just needs to be done a little bit more next summer to be able to say like.
So you couldn't show us those locations?
We could have, yeah, we just didn't have the map of it.
If you want, I can pull it up on my Apple Maps right now. You can answer another question, and then I'll
Good, yeah.
You have a solution to what to do with these pollutants?
It's a really good question, right? I mean, there are many solutions, to be honest.
You know, Mobile Oil had a thing where they were harvesting the algae and making biofuel.
Well, it's possible. We have a lot of it. We might actually be at industrial scale at this point. It seems doable. I mean, I think that this is really the thing. And let me just sort of to break it. What I think is actually really exciting about where we're at in terms of the research is this. We are getting really close to being able to say definitively, these are the exact sources. Right? This is where it comes from, and we have this proven at a very high level. Right? Once we have that, then there's lots of options. If it ends up being septic systems, which, we found in that, obviously the work Mikey's doing in terms of the septic remediation, let's get that taken care of. If it is from CAFOs, then that's conversation, right? But there is a lot that can be done in terms of waste treatment, filtration, biodigesters. The thing is really proving where it's coming from and then finding that will and money, unfortunately, to make it work. So, but yeah, for the moment, however, of course, that's a little bit cold comfort because we're still getting to that. So there was another question. Yeah.
When you talk about the underground drainage, are these like typical farm tiles, or are you talking about county mains that are like 24, 30-inch? What size tiles are these underground?
Yeah, so we haven't been able to get in there and fully see it. We started looking into this right at the end of the summer. We kind of were seeing some of this, so that I think will come, understanding that a little bit more will come with some more talks with the drain commissioner. Because he took Dr. Burrell out there and they looked at some of it, but there's a lot less information on that as of yet. I think we need to do a lot more digging into that, but they're not just cut kind of tiles, they're pipes that are underneath there. Yeah.
So I think there was another question. Yeah.
On your Sugar Creek, you have the three examples. You have a red line, and I can't
Switch back.
Oh, yeah, we can go
But
through.
what level was the red line?
This one, or
Yeah, and did you test the E. coli level for parts per million?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
so the red E. coli line, that's set at 300 CFU. So the way they measure E. coli is colonies per 100 millimeters of water, I believe, and 300 CFU, so 300 colonies of E. coli per 100 milliliters of water, mouthful, is considered shouldn't come into contact with the water at all, no recreation, nothing.
That's partial body.
Partial body.
Partial body, 1,000 is full body.
Oh, okay, got you. So, so that's what the red line is represented by those levels. What was the other part of your question?
What are the high levels? They're on the high ones.
The highest one,
10,000.
they're over 10,000. So what Rella told us to do is when we got those super high levels after the rain event was in our data we literally just put greater than 10,000 CFUs because he said something about how the state doesn't it's such a high level that it's not worth recording. It's kind of one of those things that's so stupid that it's that high we just don't record the exact number.
So if it's at 10,000 or if it's at 20,000, that's so high that at that point it doesn't matter the exact number. It just matters that it's extremely high and no one should be in this water.
How often do you test?
So we tested E. coli every time we went out. It was probably every other day, every couple of days.
A couple times a week.
At least 3 times a week that we went and took the water samples. We took E. coli and then the nutrient every time.
Because it's pretty about once a week.
Yeah, in the beginning we tested a lot more. We tested probably 3 times a week, and then by the end of the summer it was just once a week.
It's important to share also that what the students are doing regarding water testing is the same protocol that Eagle uses in their water testing. And Eagle's now requested Elmer College and the Institute to share some of their water testing data, which is really good news for the Institute and for college.
Thanks for hyping us up, Chuck.
All about teamwork.
Other questions people have? Other questions?
I I'd like to say I have this presentation up on our website if you want to go and revisit it. It's already posted there, healthypineriver.org, and it will be in our news feed and also in our database. It's all on the top. You'll be able to find it.
You talked about it being potentially from the drain tiles and things like that as sort of a point source. Was there some thought that, well, it can't be from runoff because of some other, it has to be directly in the drain tiles? And
How did you come to the conclusion that it wasn't just rain events and significant surface water runoff versus getting into the drain tiles and on the side?
Yeah. This one? So,
It's a good question.
the fields that are adjacent to Sugar Creek don't have manure. They don't get manure applied to them. So we thought that was the case, but can't be.
So they don't take anything on that field. So numbers this high aren't coming from these fields. And especially our first out at Grafton, that is where it comes out of the ground. So hypothetically, that should be the cleanest. So that's why it was this cleanest is going on, because there's these huge levels right from the source.
It's my understanding that when we were discussing the septic problems that might be on Sugar Creek, there's kind of thoughts that there's several pipes that have been buried there for a long time. Sort of like go out after dark and do what you got to do, back in the day. Now in Riverdale, ours were connected to our storm drain back in the 50s, and it was legal. And we're kind of thinking this might be tied in somehow too, but we're not sure until we can find them and camera them, right?
This gets at the complexity, right? I mean, and this is the challenge with these sort of non-point source things, right? Is that there are a lot of different potential things. I think what is exceptional about the point that we're getting at is that we are going to get the answers, right? And once we have those answers, that's, I think, where it really actually becomes interesting for us. Sure, yeah.
I don't know how much I can tell you, but to your point, in 2023, I believe, there were 14 leaking tanks that were dumped out in Riverdale.
They were leaking tanks.
The septic going
No, we had no failing. We had no failing septic tanks.
Well, I know they weren't failing.
No, they were connected to our storm drains. But the drain commission was the commission.
Yeah.
And because back in the 50s, our river was high and our river was strong.
Well,
They knew that they could.
yeah. But that was the cleanest site in all the testing. Is where the septic
And it
tanks
is the cleanest site every time we test. At Riverdale test perfect. A lot of work to get it to do it, but we got it.
It's truly exceptional. I mean, what has occurred in terms of water quality in Riverdale. This is actually, I'm talking with our social media fellow, because, we want to talk about what's wrong with the river. I think that's maybe where we begin. But after we talked about that, we really need to talk about that there has been a real success, right? I mean, an amazing success.
And the key, I think, is to get the residents involved, which I went door to door. And I did that twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month. I said, you're in trouble. You got to help here. Put your head out of the sand. We got to do this.
It truly is exceptional, honestly. It really is.
And you're going to run into that, of course, still. You got to get them older people thinking, and once you get them going, they'll open their doors for you, and they will help.
Questions? Comments?
Well, the whole septic tank versus the agricultural community argument. When you look at your map, how many residential properties are feeding that creek? You look at how many people live on that creek, and then you look at all the acreage that's contributing we think is causing a lot of the problem from the cages, the agricultural. So when you guys are out there doing that, do you look to see how much could a residential property be contributing to what's going on versus the agricultural acreage that's contributing to runoff or via the drain towers?
No, absolutely. We always, when we go out and sample, we have the notebook that we write down stuff in. We always take notes about the surroundings of that site and of the environment because, like you said, it's important. I mean, when you look at Sugar Creek, there's not a ton of residential homes along there. And so, absolutely make note of that, and that's part of the reason that makes Sugar Creek so puzzling, because we know, like you said, there's not a lot of homes along there at all. I mean, this is just straight, it's not even any roads, it's just straight field. And then it's also tough because, like we mentioned with him, that there's no manure application on those fields. Like they don't have permits for it, or even during, we see those spikes after the rain event when it's the crops are grown high enough where you're not going to put manure on them. So that's where we ended up really looking up here and found that drain system. So that's why we're kind of so convinced that the source of pollution is coming from this drain system.
That drain is noticeable on GIS if you ever get a chance. It's hidden, it's old, it's very. Kurt Giles, the city manager at St. Louis, listening to our attention. My question is, do you have any sense of the size of the pipe? I know you talked to Bernie, I know Bernie's been involved. Is there any sense to the size and how far it's transporting it?
Yeah, we don't know that as of right now. I'm sure Bernie might know more than that. We didn't hear that part of it, so we don't really have an answer as to the size right now. But I think that is very much worth looking into, and I think that's something that we can focus on in our future research. I think
is there a natural slope in the land?
That'd be an interesting thing to look at on GIS or something for sure.
That was a question that I know we posed to Murray initially. He thought of it as well.
Yeah.
That might be looked at.
Yeah.
To see if there's just a natural flow drainage-wise from west to east.
Yeah, absolute possibility, which is another reason why just kind of this part of the slides is very much preliminary. You can't really have any 100% answers from it.
Intuitively, with it being that sort of branch point, one would expect it to be the low point, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a test that they call the difference between animal waste and human waste?
We do. Actually, there was work done on this.
Right.
But I'm trying to think who's best qualified to speak to it. There was genetic work done, right? Back a few years, Tim Keaton was working on that. And it's not, I believe, currently being tested for, but he did feel pretty confident it was largely.
So pinpoint of where it's coming
Yeah. Well, and then that, it adds just another sort of piece to the puzzle. Right? However, I'm not fully technically read in on that, so I'm not going to get too far on that. I do believe we had a good paper on it, and I think it's up on our resources. What are questions that people have? Oh, yeah.
So Sugar Creek is so bad, why don't we put filters in there? Not actually filter, but actual natural gases that actually, or grasses, aquatic grasses.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
Find all the problems first before they can cure it. You see, we're still looking.
Right, but this is years of keep on testing, and it's from the source.
Yeah.
But if you start filtering stuff out, then you're not screwing up the whole rest of the river just because it's Sugar Creek.
Young people are our key. They're going to do it for us.
No,
go ahead.
I was 100% see what you're saying, and that was one of the things that I thought about. Honestly, during the summer, when you'd show us how many years they've gone about just testing the whole watershed, I'm just has anybody thought about I've never heard about anything like putting in some sort of, like you said, filtration or like, forgot what it's called, but there are these enclosures that have bacteria in them and stuff. But like it really is important to not. You don't want to spend all that money and that time and that manpower if you're doing this big infrastructure thing to try and clean the creek. And then, with the amount of E. coli levels that are like coming in there, I mean, you could talk in a matter of a few years and it could be bad again. And all of a sudden it's just all that work just for nothing. So that's what I would say.
I think that we are actually very close to that. There's a couple of things that are a little premature, so I don't want to talk about it. Right now. But suffice it to say, as we are getting that high level of confidence in sources, and particularly when we have it at a high level of confidence for a somewhat restricted area like Sugar Creek, right? I think we're going to try to seek some money out to actually get some remediation. Because, I mean, that's the whole goal, right? It's interesting. I find this all fascinating, right? But the goal is actually to make this something that improves the commission. And I think it is doable, to be entirely honest. I really think it is. Obviously, the best solution to this would be legislative. Having the state really step in and say that when you can really show something like this is happening, we're going to actually step in and we're going to remediate it, we're going to work with you. Of course, that's complicated in the current sort of fiscal environment. Other questions? Yeah.
Is it private property all along Sugar Creek? Do they know not to go in the water or use the water for anything? Are there any signs posted or anything to protect people?
When we went out, we didn't see any signs. As far as like exactly private and public property, we don't really know. But Dr. Brill shared with us one thing about how, isn't it, I think, 66 feet on either side? That number might not be 100% true, but 66 feet on either side of a public waterway is considered like public land.
And the majority along the sides are farm fields, so there's not a lot of homes. However, we have talked to homeowners down by Madison Road. We talked to the guy in the corner, and then up at like Grafton and Jefferson, we have run into several homeowners in that area, and we have talked to them a lot about this. But like it's not really in our power to put up signs, but I think that also is a very valid idea. But I think a lot of the people in the like direct vicinity do know kind of the like what's going on in the
Questions? Yes, I have a hand. Go for it. Yeah.
Is there a plant you could use that would suck up the nutrients?
I mean, I think that this is, again, I'm not going to get too far out of myself. People who are more smarter than me and better paid than me actually are the ones who do the solutions for these sorts of things. But absolutely, right? I mean, this is the thing that always kind of gets me, as a slight aside. The nutrients are valuable, right? They should be used to improve plant life. The difficulty is, of course, that it is getting into, when it gets into the water, the thing I always kind of think about is that particularly when it heats up, it turns it into effectively a hydroponic solution, right? It turns it into something that is growing things in the absolute wrong place. So if it could be taken out first, fantastic. Absolutely.
But I'm thinking it's hemp.
It
sucks up a lot of nutrients.
It does suck up a lot. Fair enough. And they're going to get me in trouble with the screaming. Anyway. All right. Any other questions they might have? All right. Let's give them a round of applause. Great work. Great work. All right.
Probably didn't get them a lot.
Cool. I just want to turn this projector down. Okay. So that's sort of where we're at in terms of our knowledge, right? We are, like I said, getting close to a point where I think that there are going to be real changes. And one of the clearest will, of course, come around figuring out what the future of the impoundment looks like in Alma. And as most of you know, we're working with GEI engineers to do a dam risk reduction study, which is being funded by a grant from Eagle. You will hear a lot more about that, but I can tell you that that process is moving forward well. The other thing I just wanted to quickly say is that we really are blessed to have so much connection with Alma College. Of course, you just saw the most visible form of this, right? Our level of knowledge is so high, which is going to allow us to actually be able to make change. That's something that really is unique and amazing. But I did also want to shout out a couple of other things that are going on. We are, like I said, working with a new media studies student on social media. You will find out more about that in the next meeting, probably, or certainly the one after. And we're also working on a series of innovative things. Alessandra is right there. Has been working with me on some ideas for how we might connect with like the art department to do things. There's several things that are cooking to basically try to make the discussion of the Pine River something that you're seeing in all sorts of different ways. So that's just something else that we're working on. And then I would just kind of wrap up before we move to our last few things by just saying, reiterating that I do think we are in a really exciting moment. We really are getting close to a point where we can start to make those meaningful changes. Now that process is going to be different. It may be hard, it may take time, right? But just the fact that we are really coming to that moment is really exciting. So I'm really excited, I'm really honored to be a part of it. That's pretty much all I have. But we always take a little bit of time just to hear from everybody in the audience. Does anyone have anything that they would like to share for the good of the cause?
Let's talk about whether we want a December meeting or not.
That's a good question.
We normally take December off.
Yes.
We don't have a meeting. So unless I hear a big, no, we want a meeting, we're not going to have a December meeting.
December meeting? I don't think we're getting a December meeting this year. So that's okay. That's okay. I know we will all be busy. I'll see you around town. Well, if no one else has any other thoughts, I hope that the sign-up sheets for getting involved with those committees have gone around. If you did not get a chance to do so and you are interested, come up and find me afterwards. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All right. We'll call it good. All right, thanks.